Hello, welcome to Tarot with Anouk. I'm Anouk. And today I want to do a reading that's specifically about forgiveness and the healing that you get as an individual when you can forgive and heal that part of you that is struggling, that is fighting against your own healing and your ability to let go. And I want to do a reading specifically on how to forgive and also how to let go, how to move on. Now, this doesn't really matter whether you want to be able to let somebody who hurt you back into your life again, or whether you want to just be able to let them go completely. By moving on, I mean moving on in your life, in whatever capacity that means, in a really healthy way. And if it means you forgive the person and you let them back into your life, you still are going to need to actually fully forgive that person before you can really return to any kind of healthy relationship. And I'm not just talking about like a love relationship. I'm talking about friendship, family, anything like that. So you need to be able to forgive them, like, completely. You don't have to forget, no. You don't have to forget what they did, but sometimes in life we just have to accept that humans are humans and humans make mistakes. So this is a way to look at that and see what we can learn, we can glean, what information, what knowledge, what wisdom we can learn through this particular spread. Now I'm using the Anna K Tarot. This is her self-published version of the deck. So if you're interested in that, you can buy it directly from the Anna K website. I don't know the web address, but let's put that down there. All right, so let's have a look. What information can we learn about forgiveness? I gave the cards a really thorough shuffling before the reading, but I just wanted to continue a little bit more of the shuffling on camera as well. Okay, well that's a... Actually, I'll turn the cards this way and do it this way. That is a really pertinent and relevant card for this reading. It's the Nine of Pentacles, and it's the card of independence. It's the card of standing strong on your own, and having that ability within yourself and everything around you, like the world that you create around you, being enough for you to deal with everything as an independent person, as an individual on your own. It doesn't mean you have to deal with things on your own. It doesn't mean you are alone in this and there is nobody else in the world that can help you. This means that you have the inner strength to deal with the situation on your own, which is really exactly what we are going for. And next we have the High Priest, which is also the Hierophant. And he is really about sort of following the kind of laws that you would find in biblical texts, for example. And I think one of the major things that we can really think about here, really springs to mind, this is what I'm hearing, is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is the sort of biblical representation of that rule, but that rule exists across all religions and all philosophies, and, you know, is really the basic fundamental way that humans, or any species really, can survive. You know, you don't go around just willy-nilly murdering each other because it's not beneficial to the species, and that's ultimately not beneficial to you as well. So, wow, what a really relevant card, and a really good reminder as well. And I think I'm also hearing in this the sort of reverse of that as well, which is well, not really the reverse, but in keeping in that is also the idea of doing to yourself, you know, do for yourself what you would have other people do to you, for example. So when it comes to forgiveness, carrying around the burden of hurt and pain and anger is actually not beneficial to you as an individual. So it really helps to be reminded of this particular rule, that firstly, if you were to make a mistake, if you were to greatly hurt somebody, if you were to cause them a lot of pain, that you would ultimately hope that they could forgive you, or that they weren't carrying around hatred and, you know, ideas of vengeance or anything against you, that they would be able to, for themselves as well as you, heal and move on. And I think that we can all honestly say that at some point during our lives, we have probably hurt somebody else, whether we meant to do it or not. I think it's impossible to get through life without causing somebody else some pain. And you might not even know you've done it. You know, in the case of maybe somebody being interested in you, you know, romantically, and you just don't return those feelings, that you can't help but hurt that person, because what are you going to do? You know, you sort of can't prevent the pain of rejection that they're going to feel. Let's move on to the next card. So I have to look at these. I'm sitting around this way, so for me that's the right way around. But this is the 8 of Wands. This is actually the first time I'm seeing this particular card. I haven't actually drawn this card from this deck for myself. So that's interesting. I just looked at that and thought, huh, I haven't pulled that card. The 8 of Wands is, and in this deck in particular, as you can see, a card of a message. Somebody is handing this woman this scroll. And the 8 of Wands is commonly thought of as a message, but in reference to this particular reading, I'm hearing a few different things here. I'm hearing first up that we can wait around, like she is waiting up here on her veranda, on her balcony, waiting for an apology to come. It may or it may not come. But what's really important, I think, is that we are willing to accept an apology. And that may not make very much sense, but I actually had this this realization actually about a year ago or thereabouts, which was, you can sit around waiting for an apology, but if you're not actually receptive to it, as in if you're not actually willing to forgive somebody, then why are you waiting for an apology? if you're not actually willing and able and whole in your heart to actually feel forgiveness, to actually be able to wholeheartedly accept an apology, then what are you actually waiting for? Are you merely waiting for a chance to say to that person, no, I don't accept your apology, go away, and shove it back in their face? In which case, you're not in that, you're actually not receptive to the apology. And sometimes I don't think the apology will come until you are whole in your heart to be able to receive that apology as it is intended, with love and with forgiveness. Now, when I say love, I don't mean romantic love. I mean the love that you feel in your heart when you are healed. When you have the joy, the inner happiness of the Nine of Pentacles here, where she is whole in herself. And this card is really important. I know I sort of realize now that I made a few vague comments about it and then I just sort of sat it down. But as I draw more cards, they all relate to each other. And these three cards are so relevant and so beautiful for the idea of forgiveness. They really are. And of course, this one is too. This is the Ten of Swords. And this is the card of pain. Real pain. That almost kills you, you know. But what I find really interesting about this card in this deck is that the man has got up somehow, extricated himself from these swords that presumably were sticking into him. And he's bleeding profusely, but he is walking away. Where is he going? Well, I'm not really sure. But he has chosen to turn his back on this pain and walk away through the snow, even though in this card, the sky is black, there's no moon, there are no stars, it's bleak. He is in pain and he is in agony and he is alone. But he has realized if he stays here in the dark, in the freezing cold, skewered by 10 swords, if he lies there, he will die. For sure. So he's got up and he's walked away from leaving the pain behind. And so, you know, when we think about that card with this one, we can really see how important it is to leave the past in the past. If you want to heal, first you have to turn your back on whatever it is that caused this enormous amount of pain and heal. So you have to spend some time healing. Okay, I mean, look at the difference between these two cards. In this one, the sun is shining, absolutely beaming down, and there are beautiful flowers blooming, and there's a well, this well that's just rich in, you know, the essence of life. And she's made it. Whereas this card is bleak and dark and cold. So to get from here to here, that is a journey. That is a journey through the dark and through the snow, but you have to make that journey to get here. You can't stay bleeding in the cold. You cannot stay there. You have to make a journey to move on. And then, once you have, that's when you can receive an apology. I'm just going to pull, I think, one more card. That's what I'm feeling. Oh. Well, that was really unexpected, actually, but what a beautiful conclusion, really, to this reading. And this is the Two of Cups, and it is a really romantic card, and it is love, but it's not just love. It's love, but that encompasses all the varieties of love. And even though we in English only have one word for love, you know, the Greeks have multiple words for different kinds of loves, but this is the card of love. But it's the card of partnerships. So when you've been through this process and you're finally in a receptive state to be able to accept, truly accept an apology without kicking it back in anyone's faces, that's when the forgiveness takes place. That's when there's a partnership between two people. And it doesn't have to be love, as I've said. It doesn't have to be a romantic love. It's a love of compassion, of understanding that we are all humans. And going back to this card, you know, do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself. We are all human, and we are all capable of making mistakes. All of us. We have all, at some point in our life, hurt somebody else. And sometimes it takes a while to grow and change and to take responsibility for the pain that you've caused somebody else. Sometimes you don't even know you have, you know. Maybe when you're in high school, there was somebody that used to, you know, sit opposite you in science class, had their eye on you, and you never knew. And every time that you didn't notice them, every time that they tried to catch your eye, or they gave you a little smile, or they passed you in the hallway, and you didn't notice them, you broke their heart. And you never knew, and you'll never be able to apologize for that because you didn't even know. So there are, you know, circumstances in life where an apology never even comes. It's impossible. Because we don't always know when we've hurt somebody else. But in the case where you would like an apology, you do know that the person knows they caused you pain, and you're waiting for your apology. It could take a while, you know. Let's just be frank. It could take years, and it may never come. But one thing's for certain is that it won't come without this process, basically. And it's not really in the right order. I could sort of rearrange these cards, put them in the sort of in the right order, but I don't really feel like I need to. First, you have to walk away from the pain and put it in the past And then you have to heal. You have to spend that time to actually heal in yourself and become whole in yourself. You have to remember that we're all human and we are all capable of causing another person pain. And we are all capable of making mistakes. And therefore we all deserve, ultimately, forgiveness. Okay, I'd just like to say that no, not everybody deserves forgiveness. Okay, but the subject of this video is forgiveness, and the subject of this reading is forgiveness. Okay, now there are circumstances where a person really does not deserve your forgiveness. All right, and I think really in that case we could probably pull this card out. Basically, we're going to focus. That would be, these two. You need to heal amongst yourself, for yourself. That's the best you're going to get in that case, spending a lot of time to heal. But this is about forgiveness. So once you're able to forgive, it doesn't really matter if you ever actually get the apology or not. You can forgive in your heart. You can say, well, people make mistakes. Hopefully that person learns and grows. And, I wish for them the very best in life, but I'm going to move on. But when forgiveness truly can happen, that's when you get this beautiful opportunity for a shared understanding between humans. And that is just, honestly, one of the most magical things, one of the most beautiful things in humanity is forgiveness and compassion and understanding. That's love. That is love. Compassion, understanding, and forgiveness is love. And if you can feel that in your heart, then that's when you know that you've truly forgiven someone. And honestly, if you're there, your heart is just swelling with joy and gratitude for the lessons that you've learned in life and, your ability to move on and create a new life for yourself. I'm going to just stop there. I just feel like that is a really complete reading and a really beautiful message about forgiveness. I really hope that you got as much out of that as actually I did reading it, because it was a beautiful reminder for myself. And thank you for watching.